Saradam, we are here talking with Hemant, our brother and a long-time devotee of Swami since he was a child. His family has been with Swami for generations and generations, held very privileged positions in nearness and dearness to Sai, and he has beautiful stories to share with us. Brother, we're so glad that you're here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Who was the first in your family to go to Swami?
My grandfather, my Nana.
Okay.
We were introduced to Swami back in the early '60s by our family physician. My mother grew up with Swami coming to her home. Swami would come to Delhi and spend time with my grandparents, and it's been always a part of our family. You know, just Swami, and just having that intimate relationship with him, not just as our guru, but almost as a family member. You know, he would joke with us, he would laugh with us, he would scold us, he would do everything like a parent would. Going to India was all about seeing Nani and Nana and Swami. And of course, not in that order. It was Swami, Nani, Nana. and, and it was always just that sheer exuberance, right? You know, we're all his children, but there's something about going to Puttaparthi where it was like, that's home. And my earliest recollection is Swami always joking with me about getting married. One story, when I was probably 18 or 19, and I was in the Darshan line. And Swami was coming around, he was speaking to me pretty much every morning, every afternoon. Even if it was just 1-2 words, he would say something.
Wow.
And so there were these 2 boys from the UK who used to sit pretty much on either side of me. Swami said to me, "Where's your wife?" And he would always ask that. And finally one day I got the courage to say, "Swami, you're my wife." And Swami looks at me, raises his hand, and starts laughing. And I remember myself and the other 2 boys, we all retreated like this, as if we were actually going to get a little smack.
You might get a big smack. You know?
Well, but it was so wonderful how he would play with us. Right. So Swami loved to play tricks and have fun with his devotees. And my Nana and Nani were in Puttaparthi, like I said, from the early '80s. And after the loss of their only son, they threw themselves to Seva. And they went to Puttaparthi. They literally closed everything up in Delhi, went to Swami and waited for instruction. And Swami told them to stay here. And Nana had a business called Sherry Duplicators, and it was similar to Xerox here in the U.S. And it did fabulously well. And he went from living a very privileged life in Delhi to a very humble life in Puttaparthi. And Nani, who had been a housewife and in Delhi, was now put in charge of Swami's, as the head Sevadal. Not immediately at that time, she was doing Seva. And Nana was doing work in the accounting office, I believe. And over time, Nana threw herself into work and wouldn't go for Darshan, wouldn't go for Bhajan, but was always at the office. And it got to a point where Swami had given him a seat on the veranda. And every time he would see Nani, he would ask, "Where's Shori-san?" And Nani would say, "He's working." So finally, after years of this going on, Swami told Nana, "You will no longer report to the office, you'll come report to me." So in the morning, Nana had a good half hour to an hour of time just with Swami.
Wow.
Every morning. And then Nana would go back in the afternoon before Darshan, afternoon Darshan, same thing. And during that time, Swami would also have some of his college students there, and he would talk with Nana and ask Nana's input on certain matters. And Swami was the ever jokester. And so Nana was sitting there waiting for Swami to talk to him, and patiently waiting, doing whatever was told. And Swami was talking with some of the students. And Swami said, "Shori Saab is sitting there?" and Nana was asleep instantly. So during that time, now Nana's fast asleep, and the boys who were in the room put a baseball hat on backwards on Nana, sunglasses on. They took photos with Nana, and they took all of that off of Nana, and Swami snapped his fingers. Nana woke up. And the boys were sitting there. And the next day they came and said to Nana, "Uncle, we have a present for you." Nana was always very sweet and excited to see what this present was. And lo and behold, there's a photo of Nana, sunglasses, baseball cap backwards, and asleep. With the boys in the picture.
And in Swami's home.
In Swami's residence. And it was funny. Nana's looking, goes, "When did this happen?" And they said, "Uncle, this was yesterday." They had the photo developed just to show him with the date stamp on it.
Wow.
And Swami would have fun. And that's the side that I wish more people could see. He loved everybody. And he loved to have fun. He loved to guide. He loved to be a parent. He loved to be a friend. I remember him saying to me, "I am your one true friend. Friends will come and go, but I'll always be there."
That was the intimacy of your family, though.
Right.
And that was one thing that I had heard from people as well, was that if Swami ever seems to mistreat you or whatever, it's a sign of endearment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
putting your grandfather to sleep.
Oh yeah. No, that was the
ultimate.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think their relationship was incredibly unique, because even if Swami told Nana, "I'm planning to do something," everyone would want to say, "Okay, that you know what's best." Nana would say, "No, that's not right." And Nana was my grandfather was a man like no other. I mean, he was so principled, and he was principled to a fault. So, but if he didn't agree with something, he would respectfully say no. And so Nana came, and he was talking with Nani, and he said, "Swami had asked me regarding some matter," and I told him that that's not the right course of action. And my grandmother stopped, and I can see her, her face is going white. And she said, "Father, you said what?" Like
Complete shock.
Utter shock. For those who don't know my grandmother, she's been Mrs. Shore is the head of the lady side, and you'll see her always. Swami will call. She's perfect, immaculately dressed, perfect hair, perfect saris, hands folded properly. She executes any instruction to the T. Nana said, "If Swami asks me, I have to speak truthfully." And so Swami would ask Nana questions, and he knew Nana would always answer truthfully. And from this story, I still remember it's important, no matter what, to speak the truth. Even if it's not the popular belief, even if it's not what people want to hear, it's what you're supposed to do.
Truth is truth.
Truth is truth. And Nana had, like I said, such an intimate relationship with Swami, but he could still tell Swami his true thoughts. And, when my grandfather was passing away, he was in the hospital, and Swami came and visited him on a few occasions. And it was that sort of bond. And when my Nana merged with Swami even said, "He's merged with me," before anyone knew. He even said to some of the students and other devotees that he was sad today, because he knew. And it's amazing to see that kind of love and endearment from Swami. He's God, but he also still had that love, compassion, and he missed those around him. And you think about it, those are the type of qualities that we all have. And it makes him so much more human, right?
Yeah.
It makes him so that you attain
Relatable.
Unbelievable, relatable.
Right.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, and there's that part of the avatar which someone as close as your grandfather and grandmother were, that part of the avatar which is, we say, the human part of the avatar. We know there's a human form. No one disputes that.
No.
Is there a human mind? On the fence.
I think he has to bring himself down to our level.
Right.
So that we can connect with him. He can connect with us.
Right.
But how do we engage with him? Well, he brings it down and simplifies it.
So he gives the appearance of a human mind, is what it ends up being. So whether there's any actuality to that being a human mind or not, you can guess. But he sure makes it seem like it.
Right.
And then we know that the divine soul is the divine soul.
But even like in the story of the Lord Krishna, right? How he would engage with his devotees, right?
Right.
How he would play tricks as a child, how he would play the flute, how he would engage them with stories. That's how Swami was too.
Right.
And I think it's to help us relate and to understand and to realize that, he's told everybody this, but I remember he said to me, he says, you do this Japamala. What's the use of the Japamala? Talk to me. The best form of prayer is just an honest conversation with me. Don't do Gayathri Mantra. Don't do Bhajans. Don't do Japamala. Talk to me. Now, I still do all that. I still do my Japamala. I still do my Gayathri Mantra because it still resonates with me.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm also speaking to Swami and talking with him and asking for guidance because it's a true form of communication. Your emotions are there. You'll understand. You'll be able to engage, right? And I think that's why Swami would bring it down to our level, is so that we could connect, so that we could feel that sense of love and compassion and understand him on our level. So for the avatar, I think we know that he's there, but we can't comprehend it. So bringing it down to our level helps us attain that next level, hopefully.
When I'm with women, I'm a woman. When I'm with men, I'm a man. When I'm with children, I'm a child. When I'm alone, I'm God.
When Swami tells you something that nobody else knows, that's where it hits you to the core.
Yeah.
And you're awestruck. When I was in college, I had brain cancer, and I had a tumor that was sitting on the jaw of my brain, and had some other aspects of it which caused some problems with my hearing, my right side, and for a year, Swami said no surgery, no operation. So I was coping with this, and luckily it was benign, and it was causing problems, but I couldn't do anything until I got Swami's blessings. I just couldn't.
Now, when he said no surgery, he physically told you that? Or
He told my Nana. My mom and dad would relay, what was happening to my grandparents. And so, of course, being that my grandparents were so close to Swami, Swami would ask, how is, your grandson? And Swami says, Swami, Hemant is having issues with his hearing. They found a tumor, and he would stop Nana and say, he'll be fine. And Nana would say, the doctors are recommending surgery. And Swami said, no operation. And he said it 3-4 times.
Wow.
And finally, I went to Puttaparthi, and I was called for an interview. And Swami blessed me and said, go home, have the surgery. And so I did. And everything went fine, no problem. Hearing, unfortunately, could not come back. The following year, I went back to Swami, and Swami called me for an interview, and he said to me, they didn't get it all. So he materialized I don't even know how to describe it, a liquid, and applied it to my abdomen. He said, "This is glandular," and I remember thinking, no one else will understand this. No one else would be able to grasp the gravity of this. And ever since then, no issues. We've all been so blessed and fortunate to have Swami in our lives in some way, form, or fashion. And with my grandparents having been brought to Swami so early, my grandparents watched Swami grow up, if you will, right?
Wow.
My mom grew up with it. For me, growing up here, any additional time I could have with them, especially with Swami and Nani was so precious. So
that's awesome.
I wish that was still the case, right?
Right. I mean, I was thinking the other day the value of one darshan. Can you imagine like what you would give to have one darshan?
I don't know. Like what I don't know.
It's almost unlimited, right? It's almost unlimited.
It's crazy because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't realize what you had until you're older and wiser.
Right.
And I wish I could go back in time and spend every aspect, every second longer in getting those darshans and those interviews and those jokes that we used to have and share.
Jason.
Sorry.